I'm up to here. Now, here is the ignition switch for the Yamaha motor. When I turn that switch on, you can see these gauges are activated. Now, what that tells me is that there's power that goes to that when the switch is on. However, I may not want the lights to be wired to a switch that's activated off of power to the ignition switch. Because think about it, what if you were on the lake and you lost, you know, the motor for whatever reason wouldn't run? You wouldn't necessarily want to have to leave your key on for your lights to work or for your horn to work. So I think for the lights and the horn, all I need is any wire that goes to the battery will do for that. Now for the fish finder, if it was wired to a wire that was connected to the switch, that could be a good thing because it would keep you from leaving it on when you get out of the boat. Or it could be a bad thing because you might want to cut your motor off and have the fish finder working while you float around, or use a trolling motor. So it may be that what I should probably do is, rather than try to find a wire that connects through this switch, I should just run a wire, possibly from that hot wire up here, and find what I need. However, having said that, I do want to turn this on and get my light tester and reach on the back side of this and just see if there is a hot wire here. Like, especially I would expect it to be right there. So that is not lighting up my light, so I'm thinking, okay, that's not hot even with the switch on. So let's turn that off and let's just forget about that. And let's go, you know, what we could do, we could use any one of these switches. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm gonna stop talking and get under there with a flashlight and just study and see what I can see. Another thing I'm up to here is I had bought a slider for the seat that I got in here, and I haven't been up in here to put that on, but that is something that I could also work on doing today. Also, I might have to do some adaptation with this, but that's something else I can look at also. So I got up under here working in this little cubby hole, and I could smell something that smelled like a dead animal. I was guessing when I pulled this out I would find a dead animal, but I didn't, and I'm pretty glad about that. I did find a lot of dried leaves and a lot of wires, and I found the place where all of those wires up there go down through this floor. So I should be able to go under the floor, find that bundle of wires, and maybe I can locate where they disconnected all this stuff up here at. And if nothing else, I got plenty of wires that go through the floor where I can, you know, attach a hot wire to a battery and bring another wire up through the floor right there. I may find a dead animal in there, but I don't see a mouse or a rat or a squirrel or anything, so maybe what I'm smelling is just some old leftover animal stuff. Okay, I'm going to put y'all back to sleep now. So this is just interesting. I brought this vacuum cleaner hose around and came under here with it, and then I couldn't find my flashlight, and I thought, I don't suppose I sucked that up in this hose, do you? Well, looky here. I sure did. So be careful when you got a big shop vac. You might suck up some small children or animals with it. Okay, let's talk a little bit more about wiring. One of the things I'm trying to do is get these lights to work. So if I go up under these lights and I look here, I see two wires. One is black and one is white, and they go into two wires with these kind of connectors, these twist connectors like you'd see in a house current. And on one side that wire is gray with a green stripe, on the other side that wire is black. So I went under the boat, there's a wire This goes into an insulated wire, which crosses to the other side of the boat, which would go to the other light. And then it comes back here, and if you go up under the hull here, I can follow that wire. In fact, if you look up there, you can see it right there. It goes all the way down the boat. Okay, now if I go down the boat looking for that wire, I come to this point right here. Now right here, you have this wire, and I was talking about this tube right here, and this tube ends here. And what comes out of it is two wires. One is gray with a green stripe, and one is black. I'm willing to bet that if I were to bring my ground wire over, the one that I hooked to the battery, and if I hooked another wire to the positive side and I touched one of those wires to each one of these wires, I would get lights on the front of the boat. Now what that would let me do is, instead of having to deal with all of that conglomeration of wiring that goes up in there, I can hook two wires here, take them up in the dash, put them on a switch, come back out and run this to the nearest hot wire, and then I'll have one switch that operates the light. The other thing I need to get lights and horn is to do the same kind of thing with the horn. So on this boat, the horn itself is located right there. That is the horn. And coming out of the horn are two wires. One is black and one is white. And I can see those two wires right here. And I can follow them, and they go over toward that conglomeration of thing over here. So basically all I need is that black and white wire that goes to the horn, and that black and greenish gray wire to get horn and lights working here. And I need to find a ground, a suitable ground, and a hot wire, which I've got a hot wire out of that wire over here. Now the other thing I'm going to need, I'm going to connect a fish finder. It's also going to need one hot wire and one ground. So if I can establish a hot wire and a ground here, I can literally take, if I want to, all of this wiring out from under here. Now, this is a nice looking fuse panel. In fact, there's a lot of nice looking switches in here. There might be a lot of things in here I can use for something else along the way. So I don't necessarily need to get rid of anything. I can pretty quickly and easy get lights and a horn working. But I could, if I wanted to, save a lot of these other switches, fuses, fuse box mounts, and all this other stuff, just in case I ever want to do anything else fancy in here. So that's what I'm going to be thinking about. Now this here is a radio. Radio is always going to have a lot of wires coming out of it because it's got wires for speakers. And if you look up in there where my light is shining, that's all those little tags, that's all about speakers right there. So there's also, I'm sure, an antenna, which is that big black wire, and then there's going to be a hot wire into that radio and probably a ground somewhere, and that's going to be what makes the radio work. Now I'm not going to use that radio because you can tell it's pretty old and rusty looking, but I might use that spot, and I might want to use some of these speaker wires because I'm sure they go to various places on the boat where I might want to put speakers. I'm guessing, pretty sure that one of them used to go over there in that armrest. In fact, I know that there was a wire that went down through the bottom of the boat there. So I could probably use some of those wires too, if need be, at some point. Anyway, I just thought I'd share all that with you. And I'll keep going here. You know, since the camera's still running, I'll show you this radio. This is that radio. It's a cassette radio. In fact, Mason Fox asked me the other day if I had a cassette radio. Well, Mason, there's one right there. It has what looks to be an insect or a joint. I don't know. Something is inside of it there. I'm guessing that's going to be some kind of insect. So I don't think I'm going to want to use this radio. It also looks like this may be removable. Sometimes they would make these radios removable so you could take them out so no one would steal your radio while you're away from your boat. This may have had a door over it or something. But anyway, that'll be coming out. And if I have a radio, it may not even be that tight. It may be something that connects to a phone. So we'll see. So I got a little bit of an understanding of what's where. And we can work from there to do whatever we want to do. I'll do a little quick follow up on my wiring job on the boat horn that I was working on yesterday. And part of this is really super technical. It's not anything I expect any of you, especially any of you young fellers, to understand. This is old man trick here, but through my amazing powers of deception, I was able to search this old plate, and I found these letters H-O-R-N. Now that's secret code. That stands for a little loud blowy thing that makes a lot of noise when you touch particular wires together. So y'all just remember that, H-O-R-N. And that had where this hole is, it had a little push button switch in there, which kind of makes sense, because if you want to blow a horn, you want a little push button switch, which we have. I have unconnected up here, and this is it right here. So rather than taking the horn out, disconnecting wires and running wires down and chasing wires, I thought what I would do, just for the the sake of being highly technical, is take a hot wire and put it in this wire over here, which I have already predetermined was hot wire. I'm gonna stick that right in there. If it don't fit good, that fits pretty good. And the way to tell if it fits good is I'll take my little testy light here, my little light up testy light. Funny, I used to wire cars completely from end to end using nothing but the little testy light. Nowadays they got all kind of devices. Now y'all see that lighting up there? That tells me I got contact there. It also tells me I got a ground here. So common sense, or maybe uncommon sense, I'm not sure which, would tell me that if I touched a hot wire and a ground wire to these two wires on this horn, I would get a loud racket making kind of thing that happens here. So I'm gonna test that theory by touching the ground to one side and that to the other, and look what I got. Nothing. I got nothing. Now you may say, well, you're not pushing the horn button, but see what I'm doing here is I'm bypassing the horn button by doing this, because see, if this worked, then that's what this horn button does. It touches one side of this would be hot and one side of this would be not hot. So let's try reaching it right up in that. We got nothing happening there. So either somebody has cut that wire between there and the horn, and that may run through a fuse box over there, or the horn itself is bad. Now what I might do next, I'll save this because this might still be usable. That's a handy dandy little button. I got a plate to mount it on if I wanted to clean this plate up and save it. There's probably some light switches in here too, but let's not get sidetracked and macated on that. Let's move over here, because I can look down through a hole where the ashtray used to be, and I can see the top of that horn, and I think I could get me a little, it looks like about it's either a 3/8 or a 5/16 or something like that. Could it be 5/16? Anyway, it's one of them little ones, smaller than half. If I take that off, put a little oil on that and loosen it up, then I'll touch my two wires to that, and I'll know it either works or don't work. I'm gonna go get me a socket, a little bit of oil not olive oil, but some oil. Okay, so here's the horn. Rusty, corroded, and everything. But if it works, I'm going to try touching my 2 wires to that. And I have tested my 2 wires with my light here to make sure I still have hot in the ground. And I do. So I'm going to reach my ground wire over here, touch one side, my hot wire touch the other side, and then see if I get any sound. Probably scare me if I do. That would pull this off. There, that'll make it better. A little better connection there, and I think you can see it better too. Okay, so let's do this again. We got nothing. We got nothing. So, just to make sure, I'm gonna double check my ground again. So, I'll hook my light tester to that. And to this. Yeah, we got nothing. Okay. So I'm not going to be using that horn unless, now I have known people like what's your name, your old grumpy grandpa out there somewhere that moved to Tennessee, Mr. Shade Tree Fix-It Man. It's you, I think, that actually restored an old antique horn once, painted it. Oh, look at the inside of that. Now, you see that? That's dirt daubers nesties. Dirt daubers nesties down inside that. Well, that could be one of the reasons why it wouldn't work. See, there's a thing in there that has to vibrate electronically, and if it had dirt daubers nesties built all over it, it might not be able to vibrate. So, I don't know. Could squirt a bunch of carburetor cleaner in it. But anyway, so yeah, I'll go give that a try. Sometimes when you're doing any job, success is a matter of small victories, whether you win or lose. I'll give you an example. I was crawling around down under there a while ago, and the other day I was talking about hearing aids a lot, because my wife's hearing aids aren't sufficient for what she needs to be able to hear people. And we talked to some friends, and they know somebody who does hearing aids, and they highly recommend them, and they recommended them to us. And well, that got me thinking about mine. I wear hearing aids, so I turned mine up. And when I crawled under this little dash thing here, they started squealing. Having those hearing aids squealing in my ear while I'm under there trying to process thoughts is annoying. So I took a hearing aid out, put it in my pocket. That's one small victory. You got to count every victory, because you know you need every victory to get through a tough job. The second victory is I found the wire where those lights come from and go to. There's 2 wires in there. I'm guessing one's ground, one's hot, but I'm not sure. And I could take that light up there apart and look at it, and that would tell me for sure. But what I did find is I was able to track. There's a black. There's a black wire with a green stripe or something like that in there. I was able to track that to this wiring box right here. And I'm thinking, okay, there's probably a hot wire and a ground wire in this thing that makes it work. And I bet the hot wire is disconnected. Maybe the ground wire isn't. So I looked at all these wires, and the one that I found that has another wire running off of it, I got to wondering if that wouldn't be the ground wire, especially since there's no insulation. Now, on a ground wire, a lot of times you don't insulate it because there's no hot stuff in it. So I ran my little light tester up here and I clipped it on there. That's what this is. And I brought this over here and I clamped it. I touched it to this one, which is the one that runs to the hot wire. And if you can see it, lo and behold, we have light, which tells me what? It tells me that this is ground that's working on this light setup. So that makes me think that maybe if I could find the hot wire and touch a wire to it while this is turned on, that light might come on. Now there is a plug right here that's not plugged in, but it seems to me unlikely they would have specifically unplugged the light switch if they're going to be disconnecting all the lights to it anyway. I'm guessing there's another hot wire here, but if I could find a hot wire that I could touch that would put power to that, then that would tell me a lot about whether or not, I don't know, it would be moving in the right direction. Now one thing I could do is go back under here and go back to the switch box. There is a switch box up under here, and it's right here. Sometimes they will label things on the switch box, which can make it easier for you. But really, it may be that all I really need to find, and the best way in the long run would be just find where the hot wire comes in. Now here's an interesting spot. You notice over here, there's a bank of wires that could be hot, but it could also be ground, because keep in mind this dash is plastic, so they have to find a ground. That could be a ground, which means this side with the red wire and the big bolt, that could be where the hot wire would connect. So what if we pulled our red wire over here and touched it to that and then tried the light switch to see what would happen? And my wire is right under there. See, I'm here. Here's my hot wire right there. You see it? So maybe I could reach over here and grab that hot wire, bring it underneath here and up to there and touch it to that box. And if it worked, then all I would have to do is reconnect that hot wire up there, and I would have, who knows, I might have a lot of things working. So, another thing I could do is I could get my light, where is it at? Get my light here and attach one side of it to this ground on this switch box and see if it's grounded. I'm guessing it is, but you know, guessing is not as good as knowing. So I'm gonna turn y'all off while I do this little test, and I'll be right back. Okay, I've got my clamp on what should be the ground here, and I've got my tester run to the end of this wire, and nothing is happening, which tells me they probably cut a big bunch of wires that just cut a bunch of stuff. But one of the things that would have gotten cut would have been a ground. So what if I ran a ground in here and touched it to that? Oh, I just happen to have a little one here that might be enough to fire a light bulb. So, ding, 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 that gives me a light. So what if I ran this ground to that? And then I ran a hot wire over there. Ooh. So I could take, it was, you know, I remember one time 63 Impala had some sunglasses that had a camera in them. Wouldn't it be nice if something like that would actually work? I tried one, it didn't work very well. Me and him both did. Fuzzy off-color pictures of all sorts of things there for a while. It didn't work very well. I'll put you like this So if I took this ground, this ain't a very much of a ground, but it's a little bit of one. And I could actually clamp that right on with this, couldn't I? Could do that. But I could probably also just stick it right under something like that. Just stick that right in there. And just stick that right back onto there. Just like that. Now, let's see if we reattach this here. And then we touch this to that. Nope, that didn't do it. What do I need to get it to work? Well, let's mess with that a little bit. So it works when I touch the wire, but it doesn't work when I touch this thing. So this thing isn't getting that connection. Of course, it's corroded and such as that. But I think I'm on the right track here. I do believe I'm on the right track. Yeah, if I could get that to ground and run a hot wire over there, then I could test these fuses and see what fuses work. That would tell me a lot too. Yep, I may need more of a ground though. That's a tiny little ground. I do have some heavier wire that I could run in here. Okay, I'm gonna cut y'all off. I'm gonna go give that a try, I think. Okay, I have achieved massive success. And let me explain a little bit. I hate to come into a vehicle and cut up the wiring and rewire it. I can do that. In fact, it's easier than using the wiring that I have. But if I can get the wiring I have to work, that is so much more satisfying. Now, that's a light that's working, and we got another one over here. Let's see. Look at that. That light is working. Massively wonderful. So that means all the wiring is good all the way back to the light switch. Now let me show you what I did with the light switch. Through a brilliant process of heavy duty thinking, I found on the back of, I think that's someone working on my thing over there, on the back of this light switch, remember that gray wire with the green stripe on it? Well, that's it. So I ran a hot wire from our known hot wire here to there. That's working. So what that tells me is this switch, it has a ground, and that light will work if there's power to it. If this switch works and delivers power to this bank over here, then it might work a whole bunch of lights on this thing. So the thing to consider is, where would the hot wire have gone onto this switch? I'm going to pull this wire out to save us from shorting something out. And I mentioned before, there is a terminal here. It's connected to nothing. I could try. This is one of those places where Bobby would get out one of those voltmeters and attach one side to each side of this and see if it's drawing energy. Maybe I should be smart like Bobby and do that. I have one of those meters in there. Maybe I'll do that. So I went and grabbed my old voltmeter, and the wires were broke off it. It occurred to me I probably shouldn't even talk about this, because last time I talked about having one, someone sent me one, and I was too dumb to ever figure out how to use it. What I did do instead is run a wire to that empty plug to see if anything lit up back there, and nothing did. So I'm gonna unplug. Oh, you know what I didn't try? I didn't try working the switch. Okay, let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. So let's try. Oh, look, a light came on right there. You see that? What does that tell me? That tells me something happened. Something's happening inside that switch. Sometimes I just have to go back and start over, think about it some more. I'm pretty convinced that the few people that watch me do so because I'm so weird, and occasionally something miraculous like that happens and surprises all of us. Oh, so that's not on, but there's another click to be clicked on that. There. There's more than one click. There's a middle click, and there's a click that way. So what is the middle click? What if that wire came out of there? Now all three of these wires go across here. And I do have something working here. Off the switch. I have that light right there. Or did I lose that light? I've lost that light now. There it is. Huh. Alright. So I'm going to unconnect that while I think about things. I don't think I can do that without putting y'all down, so I'll put you down. Okay. So that was making that work. Oh, I know what I'm doing wrong. Duh. It just hit me. I'm looking at the light and I've got the light unplugged. Duh. Okay. See what I mean about sometimes I just surprise myself? Sometimes I surprise myself by being a little bit stupid. Yeah. Okay, so let's put this back. Let's put this back. See, sometimes I just have to slow my old man brain down. And let's take this light. Let's ground the light here. And let's test it here. Boom, we got light. Now let's touch it to that point there. And let's flip this. Oh, I so expected to see that light up. Why didn't it? I'm sure I was on the right track. Well, I wonder if any of these other ones light up. Wait, did I see light? Oh, I see light right there. Something just lit up. That is lit. That is lit. That is not lit. So, what about over here? So, what if I took this one here that was lighting up, which I have no idea what it even goes to. It could go to the overhead light. There's an overhead light up above us here. Let's double check that again. That comes on there. Let's take that off of there. We'll stick this onto that right there. And now we'll throw that. Stop lighting up. Why? Why did that stop lighting up? Huh. There's some trickery involved here. It may have something to do with what? I don't know. But I do know that if I touch power to that, we got lights out back. What I might do is do away with this whole thing and just run a toggle switch, or I could pull these switches out and mess with them and get them working, which seems like a lot of bother. Oh bother. So let me think on these things. I'm gonna cut y'all off while I think on these things. Okay, I believe I've solved my lighting problem. And what I was doing was messing with that switch that had all those wires in it, and I was having on and off sort of results. I finally decided to go with simplicity, got me a toggle switch put on there, and now it's working. And here is the toggle switch. Good old plain old-fashioned made in China toggle switch, which I can very easily put anywhere that I want. And I may want to get rid of this whole thing, make me a new plate just to cover that hole. Also take that radio out. And also I have a switch here that I could test to see if it would blow the horn. So let's see if I took. Let me test it. I'm gonna do a quick horn button test. Here, I'll just pull this off of that. I'll hold this against that, and then I'll put my light here to make it sure it works. Then I'll stick the other side of my light over here, and I'll see if I can push that horn button. And I'm pushing the horn button and getting nothing, so I don't think I'll use that horn button. I have another toggle button here that I could use. This one used to work the trim up and down. I could try it too. So I'm gonna just stop for now, because going up and down that ladder and squatting down and crawling around on the floor, making my knees hurt. It happens to you when you're a certain age. I'm still running. Yes, there you are. So I think I might go in the house. I've got my Humminbird, my Lowrance fish finder to install also. And I want to take that radio out. I want to fill that hole up and fill that hole up. But I think right now I'm going to just take a break. Drink some tea. Might eat a tuna fish. We'll see.